Welcome to another episode of We Don't Die. I'm your host, Sandra Champlain, author of the international best-selling book called We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And just a reminder, my home base is wedon'tdie.com, where you can always find great things like medium classes. We have our free Sunday gathering with medium demonstration included. Oh, there's so much to explore. And at the bottom of the page, if you're so kind and you enter your name and your email address, there's a free copy of my book there for you. Chapter 10 is about grief, and I think it's one of the most important chapters, and lots of other free goodies just by signing up at wedon'tdie.com. Today, I'm so happy we're welcoming back my dear friend, Nic Whitham, who has made such a huge difference in my life. I first met Nic over 9 years ago at his Banyan retreat in the UK, introducing me to physical mediumship, trance mediumship, and some fantastic evidential mediumship and tutors. In fact, if you've heard the names, Scott Milligan, Carrie McLeod, Phil Dykes, all very good friends that I've met through Nic and Stephen at Banyan Retreat. So I owe them just so much gratitude. You will enjoy going back and listening to episodes 189 and 376, where I spoke with Nic, and he spoke about his journey of why he believes in the afterlife, some fascinating stories, and also his journey into healing. So I've included the links to those episodes in the description below. Today, Nic is here to share the wonderful Spiritual Truth Foundation, the wise Silver Birch and his medium, Maurice Barbanell, and the newly released Silver Birch app, allowing all of us to access some incredible words of inspiration and empowerment about life, death, and the afterlife. You can find out more about Nic and his book, Science and Spirit, A Healing Journey, at banyanretreat.com. And to discover the Silver Birch app and Silver Birch, Maurice Barbanell, and so much more, please visit our friends at spiritualtruthfoundation.org. Nic, my friend, welcome back to We Don't Die.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here. Lovely to catch up after such a long time. We've been out of touch for a little while, but we're going to catch up today, and we're going to have a great time together. It's lovely to be with you. Lovely to see you again.
Lovely to see you too. Yes, we have that friendship that no matter how much time passes, we're connected for eternity, I believe. And I know I described it in my introduction, but you and Stephen behind the scenes really set me up to not only introduce me to great people, but I've offered classes, live events, and so many things. And I took all your wonderful foundations of ethics and integrity, and I wanted to make sure everything I offered matched the wonderful things that you guys provided at Banyan Retreat. So thank you for training me, so to speak, as to the proper integrity to, all those kind of things. I think that's necessary.
Absolutely. It's totally necessary, especially today. We have lots of things in there that are not quite as they should be, and it's good to make sure we do our best to keep everybody on the straight and narrow and introduce them to the real truths of what the universe has to offer.
I agree. Yeah, some folks out there are hanging that spiritual flag and may not be so spiritual. And so you and I and lots of others are really out there to try to restore that integrity. Well, where should we begin? First of all, where are you in the world? Start with that.
Well, we moved away from Kent in 2021, and we moved a little further north, not too far from where I was born. Probably about 10, 15 miles away from there. So we're in Lancashire, a stone's throw from the Lake District and not too far from Blackpool. So we have plenty of entertainment, plenty of shows, and plenty of countryside to explore wherever we choose, really. It's a great location. As I say, it's not too far from where I was born. I still have friends and family in this area. So it's good for us, and we're enjoying every minute of being here.
Thank you. And I'm coming from Rhode Island in the USA, just south of Boston, Massachusetts. Now, Nic, some people will go back and listen to our previous episodes. Some will not. Would you mind just describing a little bit about your past and what you created with Banyan Retreat? I know it's no longer physically there. You still have the website, but there's some magic that's happened through you giving so many people an opportunity really to see proper mediumship in all its varied ways.
Absolutely. Back in 2006, Stephen and I moved to Kent, and we opened Banyan Retreat. And very shortly after that, we invited a medium to come and demonstrate trance for us. As a child, I was brought up with trance mediumship. It was all around me. It was actually all I ever knew. I didn't know mental mediumship until I moved to London some number of years later. All I'd ever been exposed to was trance mediumship, and I thought that was all there was to mediumship. But we invited a trance medium to come and demonstrate. And he came in and he said, he started by saying, I want to come to you two boys at the back, meaning Stephen and myself. And he said, I'm going to tell you something. He said, in 12 months' time, he said, you won't recognize this place. It will have transformed completely. And he said, people will be knocking at your door to come and demonstrate here. And you must only allow the best of the best to come and work with you. And magical things will happen. And Stephen and I kind of looked at each other and thought, yeah, okay. Not too sure about that, but we'll see. However, he was right. The spirit world brought to us somebody who was able to transform Banyan Retreat from what it was when we first opened to what it became some 3 or 4 years later. We'd taken the swimming pool away. We had a dedicated seance room, dedicated demonstration room, treatment rooms, and we opened that up, part of our home, to everybody who had an interest in any form of mediumship. With the help of Jan Dayton, our very good friend who passed away back in 2017, I think it was, she helped us build relationships with many different people who came to work with us. And we had the most marvelous demonstrations, things that touched my heart and will stay with me for the rest of my days. And it was our pleasure to be able to do that. That was our life for let me see, probably about 16, 17 years. Sadly, COVID came along and we closed for a couple of years, and we had to make the decision whether to carry on or whether to retire. And we thought, well, retirement's not that far away anyway, so let's just cut to the chase and do that now, which is what we did. We closed Banyan, we moved north. But we're still very much involved, and for a good number of years prior to that, I have been introduced to the Spiritual Truth Foundation. So throughout COVID and for many years after that initial introduction, I got a little deeper involved with the Spiritual Truth Foundation. And on a day-to-day basis, we ship out the books that are purchased via the website, and we really decided that it was time to bring SDF into the current day. Everybody loves the philosophy of Silver Birch. It's timeless, and it's as relevant today as it was when it was given the best part of probably 80. It's got to be 80 odd years ago when the communications first started. There are many books. There are 19 books in total. And we decided that in today's environment, people should be able to listen to them in audiobook format. So the trustees, under my lead, got together, and we have converted now all of the Silver Birch books. And not only the Silver Birch book, but all the Barbanell books as well. So the books that were written by Sylvia Barbanell and also by Maurice Barbanell have also been converted. we it took us a little while to decide on a voice, and in the end, we decided to go with AI. And people will shun away from that, thinking, "Oh, that dreadful mechanical voice that you get." This isn't. This is a proper voice. It has all the different tones and emotions that you would want from an AI voice, and we believe that it's done us proud, and all the books are now available only via the app. But the app allows you access to every single book. You buy a subscription for a month, 3 months, 12 months, and you can download that to your mobile phone, to your tablet, to your iPad, your desktop. And if you don't have any of those gizmos, you can use a regular browser. And you just log in, all the books are available. And providing you've downloaded them, you can listen to them anywhere in the world. You don't need an internet connection. Providing you've done the initial download of the books you want to read and they're on your app, you can access them on planes or anywhere in the remote parts of the world where there's no internet. And that was a collective effort by all of the trustees. There's actually been a huge bonus associated with converting most of those books, and that is that we can add books that are now out of print very easily. And there's been a lot of interest in recent days, actually. There's a documentary here on the BBC about Helen Duncan, and Barbanell wrote an extensive report called The Case of Helen Duncan, and that has proved to be quite popular. Now, he also wrote another little pamphlet, he called it a booklet, I think, called Rogues and Vagabonds, which was about the Vagrancy Act, which is the act under which Helen Duncan was originally charged. And he goes into detail and also explains how he and many others petitioned to get that changed, and the sort of the outcome of that towards the end. So it's an interesting little journey. And Rogues and Vagabonds now, although it's not available in print, is now available on the app in ebook or audiobook format. I should have mentioned all the books are available in ebook format if you prefer to read, and audiobook if you prefer to listen. It's amazing. I love it. Steve and I recently went away, and there's a particular chapter in Sylvia Barbanell's book, which is about the evolution of animals and how that relates to the evolution of mankind. And it fascinates me. And I read it time and time and time again, because every time I read it, I absorb a little bit more and I understand it a little bit better. So when we flew over on holiday recently, I listened to that on the way over and loved every minute of it. It's perfect. So very, very happy with where we are with the app and all the books that are currently available.
Thank you for that. Well, we have some people here for the very first time who have not a clue who Silver Birch was, Maurice Barbanell, Spiritual Truth Foundation, Helen Duncan. They're not here to tell their story, but we have you. So would you first tell us who the Spiritual Truth Foundation is and why they began? And then if you wouldn't mind sharing the journey of Maurice Barbanell, because he wasn't into all this spiritualism in the beginning, and how Silver Birch came about.
Certainly. Well, Maurice Barbanell was born into a Jewish family in the East End of London. His mother was devoutly religious. She was from a Jewish family, and she was very much into the Jewish religion. His father, not quite so much. He was somewhat of an atheist, and Barbanell kind of originally he adopted an atheist outlook, but later changed to agnosticism. He was also very much into writing and literature. And he, in his teens, he became the secretary of the ghetto social and literary club. And it was his job to invite interesting people to come and address the groups. And somebody came along one evening to discuss spiritualism. And it was Barbanell's job to kind of stand up and prompt and question what was being said. And he said, I'm not in a position to do that because I don't understand the subject well enough. And that kind of piqued the interest of somebody who was present there called Hannah Swaffer. Hannah Swaffer was a big name in journalism at the time and very well known by most people in the country. Swaffer took him along to a mediumship home circle, and he sat there. And on his second visit, he fell asleep, or so he thought. And when he came back, he apologized for falling asleep and said he must have had a busy working day. And he was corrected by the other sitters who said that he'd been entranced by a Native American Indian influence who had been addressing the circle. And that's really where it all started for Maurice Barbanell. Still a little bit unsure of what was taking place. But from that, Swaffer set up his own home circle, the Hannah Swaffer Circle, for which Maurice Barbanell was the medium. And for many, many years, Barbanell would one day a week sit, go into trance. Silver Birch would come through and communicate. And in his flat in London, a lady, it was actually his secretary, would sit behind a curtain and take down everything that was said by Silver Birch and the rest of the sitters throughout the whole session. What would happen after that is they would be typed up, they would be agreed by the members of the home circle. It would be published in Two Worlds magazine, of which Barbanell was an editor. He actually edited two magazines, the Psychic News, which was the initial publication which he was involved with, which started with Arthur Finlay. He had a disagreement with Arthur Finlay and left Psychic News and started to publish Two Worlds. So after these transcripts had been agreed by the sitters, they will be published in Two Worlds, and then the originals will be destroyed. So all the teachings of Silver Birch have come from those articles that were written over the years. There's a minor duplication in parts, but if you read any of the Silver Birch books, you know the message that Silver Birch is trying to convey. So as I say, they would everything that Silver Birch communicated was written, and it was published and made available to everybody. But Barbanell didn't make it public that he was the medium for Silver Birch for many, many years, because he thought if people realize that he was publishing his own work, they may begin to question. So it was many years later before he actually made the announcement that he was the medium for Silver Birch. So in years that followed, he was back in favor with Psychic News, and he was actually the editor of both those publications and others for a considerable period of time. He wrote his own books throughout that period. Probably the most well-known one would be This is Spiritualism. If you haven't read it, fascinating read. And again, it's available from the Spiritual Truth Foundation website, or on the app. So where were we?
I'm excited about all this, and I didn't know all of that about Maurice Barbanell.
fascinating story. But Barbanell, as well as being editor of the Psychic News and the Two Worlds, and being the medium for Silver Birch, he was great friends with amazing mediums like Estelle Roberts, Harry Edwards, Helen Hughes, any number of well-known mediums of that time. He knew them all. He attended their demonstrations and he supported them in every which way. He and his wife were members of Estelle Roberts' circle and sat regularly. They were great. They were so fond of Red Cloud at Estelle's circles, and they each tell the most amazing stories. They each wrote a book about their experiences with Estelle. Maurice Barbanell's is The Trumpet Shall Sound, which was out of print for many, many years and has been hugely popular since we brought it back. And so has Discerning Spirits, Some Discerned Spirits, which was Sylvia Barbanell's account of their experiences with Estelle Roberts over the years. Truly, truly amazing books. Things that if you were to experience today, you just would not believe, because we don't have those kinds of experiences today that they were privileged to be part of. I'll give you a small example of that. A little town not too far from where I am now, called Blackburn. A young girl called, I think Maisie Besant, I think is her name. And she came to Red Cloud one night, and she asked the sisters to get in touch with her mother. She gave her mother's name, her address, and explained her circumstances to the circle. The following day, Barbanell wrote to the girl's mother and didn't get a reply immediately, so he wrote again, sent a telegram, and a week or so later got a response. He invited her to join Estelle's circle one night, and he met her at the station in London, took her to Estelle's home, and they sat. Maisie Besant came through that night, communicated with her mother, and both of them give different but very similar accounts of their recollection of the events that took place during that communication. Absolutely, truly, truly amazing. Estelle, for anybody that doesn't know, was she had more mediumistic faculties than most people. Healing, materialization, clairvoyance, clairaudience, a whole many different aspects, different mediumistic faculties that she had at her fingertips, and was truly a wonderful person. So yes, in addition to that, Barbanell wanted to help spiritualists who'd fallen on hard times, and he set up the Spiritual Truth Foundation with other people from his circle of friends who were able to help and to guide, from other publications, from the SNU as it was then, and different organizations. And they formed the Spiritual Truth Foundation to help people in need, which is exactly what it does today. They bought a guest house in Weston-super-Mare, and they financed that for any spiritualist who had fallen on hard times, was in need of a place to get away and to recuperate from any illness or anything. And they kept that running for a good number of years. I think it was probably around about the mid-90s that it kind of became a little unsustainable for STF to continue to finance that establishment. So it was sold, and the money that was taken from the sale of that was invested, and the proceeds from those investments still support spiritualists today, as well as the revenue from all the books that we sell. It all goes into into Spiritual Truth Foundation to support anybody who's in need. People can apply from the website, and it can be anything. It can be somebody who needs a new cooker, a new bed, the simple things in life that they're just not able to afford due to their circumstances. And they come to us, and we're able to help many people in that way.
And I would assume the proceeds from the app go into the Spiritual Truth Foundation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All the revenue from the app, the sales of the book, from the investments, all goes in to help anybody who's in need. It's not a huge pool of money. We can't help everybody. We can't help rebuild some of the churches and things of that nature, but there are other organizations that can do that. But for the individuals who have served the spirit world, we'll do whatever we can to help them in whatever way we can.
Great organization. I'd like to talk a little bit about the writings of Silver Birch. They're different, they're unique, they're comforting. I know it's very simple that I say life, death, and the afterlife, but from your perspective, what's an experience of reading those words, and why? How do they touch your soul?
Wow. I've listened to, I think, everything that's been written by Silver Birch over the past 12 to 18 months as we've been putting together the audio books. So I'm pretty familiar with most of what he says. And I have to say, some of it I don't always agree with. It doesn't necessarily resonate with me. But as with all things that I read, I never dismiss anything. If I read something that doesn't resonate, I kind of put it just to one side, and you may read a little bit more further down the road, and you think, yes, that's where that piece of information fits, and you join all the pieces together, a little bit like a jigsaw puzzle, if you like. But Silver Birch used to retire to the higher levels of the spirit world. He was a very evolved spiritual being, and although he's generally portrayed as as Native American Indian, that was a persona that he borrowed, if you like, to allow him to return to communicate through Barbanell. He explains, as we pass into the spirit world, there are many levels, and we continue to evolve, and it's an endless process as we progress towards the light. And I've heard other communicators talk about the shedding of bodies, as we shed the physical body here on earth, which is the initial step. That continues in different ways as we shed energy bodies in the spirit realms. So he used the spirit cloak or the spirit body of somebody else in order to be able to come back and to communicate. But he would retreat at Christmas times. He would go to the inner levels of the spirit world, to where he originated from, to recharge his batteries and to communicate with the circle of people who were charged with bringing that message to the earth at that time. And the things that he spoke in very simple terms. There's nothing complex about the words that Silver Birch used. They're very simple. They're very simple concepts that he brings, and he explains things in a very simple way. So it doesn't matter how much experience you have with this way of life. And it really doesn't matter where you start. You will understand what he's saying, and you will go on the journey. My journey with Silver Birch started probably back in the mid 80s. I started work in the city, and there was a bookshop opposite the British Museum at that time that sold the Silver Birch books. So my lunchtime on a Wednesday, I would trot up to the British Museum and buy myself a Silver Birch book. Throughout the week, I would read it, and the following week, I'd be off for the next one. And it got to the stage where I couldn't wait for a week. I had to do it after a few days. I was so keen to absorb this amazing knowledge, which really set me on the right path for the rest of my days, really. It was the founding knowledge that I carry with me to this day. So Silver Birch played a significant part in my early education into understanding these matters. And there came a point in time where I ran out of books to read. I thought, what do I do next? And I looked at others, but they didn't quite have the same draw. But his philosophy is it's aimed at every level of understanding. He had children who will come and speak to him at Christmas time each year, young children, and they come armed with their questions. And you can read all about that in the books, the questions they asked, the way he responded to them. He had huge affection for these two children who were associated to Barbanell in some way. He spoke to Harry Edwards on regular occasions. There was another healer called William Parrish, who really Silver Birch set out on his healing journey. It was his guidance that took Parrish to be one of the most well-known healers in the London area at that time. Barbanell blessed the opening of his healing sanctuary when it opened, and offered guidance to some Helen Hughes. He called I have to get this right. He called him Helen the Beloved. He has such affection for her and offered her guidance, and her and Barbanell were great friends. But Silver Birch met with many people over the years, and will give them people from Australia, from New Zealand, from South Africa, all over the world. And of course, Barbanell travelled to many parts of the world as well, and gave lectures and demonstrations and such. Sadly, and very sadly, there are very few recordings of Silver Birch. There is one that's available on our website, but there are very few that are available today. But his philosophy, timeless, as relevant today as the day it was given. You have to bear in mind that when a lot of the philosophy was given initially, it was in the early days after the war, and there was lots of bereaved people around after the war, and he helps so many with his words of comfort. And it was a time when they looked forward to greater things, and to a greater extent, I think we still do that today. The world, I don't think, is not in any better place than it perhaps was at the end of the last war. So his words are as relevant as they've always been, as the day they were given. And he speaks on so many different topics, many topics, and he will have spoken about it in some capacity, and you will find an answer to it. There's a book called Question and Answers that has 200 or 300 questions in it. And the answers, the responses that he's given to those questions over the years are available for everybody to to understand and absorb. Um, Sue Farrow has created a number of little books of Silver Birch over recent years, which are dedicated to healing, to challenging times, to animals and nature, to mediumship, to peace and harmony. And they are dedicated. We've taken the quotes that Silver Birch has given about those topics and put them all together, which is great. If you want to look up a particular topic, it's there. You can look and you can dive in. And they're only short quotes, so you don't need to read the whole book. You can just dip in, dip out, as you can do with all the Silver Birch books.
Very exciting. And for me, reading what I have of Silver Birch, not even close to everything that you have, as a human being, life is tough. And we ask ourselves, what's the point? What's the big picture? And to hear the words from Silver Birch about how to get through the tough times, what life is about, what love is, what life is like in the spirit world, how to navigate through life, healing, all of these wonderful topics, dealing with other people. It just resonates as the truth. And I think for each one of us, we need to stay somehow plugged in, whether we're listening to a podcast or reading a great book or being with a group of people that speak this language. But for me, having a little taste of the Silver Birch books, it's just like, okay, all right. It helps me put life in perspective. So I can't say enough good things about the teachings of Silver Birch. Nic, quick question.
Yep.
If somebody's brand new to this, they sign up for the app, is the first book they read kind of, I don't want to say an introductory, but what do they find first? What should they read first? Put it to you that way.
All the books are available in the app, and it really is down to it. It doesn't matter where you start, because it's not a progressive learning as you go through the different books. However, there are probably 3 books that are the most popular ones. That will be Guidance from Silver Birch, Teachings of Silver Birch, and Question and Answers. They're the 3. You might find Question and Answers a little lengthy, because as I say, there are hundreds of questions in there. But you don't need, again, you don't need to read it from front to back. You can just dip in there, and if you see something that's of interest to you, you can read it. There is no sequence. They were taken from the teachings that were given over many years, and they're compiled in different ways by different people, slightly different perspectives, but they are Silver Birch's words. So yeah, it doesn't matter. You may want to read the Silver Birch stuff before you read some of the Barbanell books, although This is Spiritualism is a great place to start. If you have a close connection with pets, then When Your Animal Dies, which was written by Sylvia Barbanell, I never appreciated that as much as I have done over the past 12 months. The most amazing stories about animals in that book that you would not believe possible today. And chapter 18 that I touched on earlier, where she talks about, or she gets Silver Birch to talk about the evolution of the animal kingdom and the evolution of mankind and how they overlap, intertwine, or connect, is a fascinating chapter. And you'll need to read that one a couple of times. It really is fascinating. The most amazing story. She does a similar book on children, which is different. That's When Your Child Dies. Those are really 2 of Sylvia's more popular books. But yes, doesn't matter where you start. All is relevant, and he speaks with simple words that you can understand, regardless of how much understanding you have of this world, the spirit world, and how the two communicate.
Thank you for that. And people can join for a short time or a long time. That's your choice. Nic, I wouldn't mind if you talk about your book, Science and Spirit, a little bit. What had you write that, and what's that about?
I was brought up into a family of healers, so healing's always been around me. And when I was 14, I was talking to the communicator from the spirit world in my father's circle, and he asked me what I wanted to do with my life, and I said I want to serve the spirit world. And he said, "That's fine." He said, "But go out and live your life first." He said, "When you live your life, there'll come a time when you can serve my world." And true to his word, that's exactly how things unfolded. But throughout that whole time, I've always had a very keen interest in healing. I've always healed at every opportunity that's been available to me. And we opened Banyan, as they back in 2005, 2006. We delved into lots of different healing modalities at that time. And I had a much better understanding of healing and how healing works. With help from some of our friends in the spirit world, and also with information from Silver Birch, that knowledge grew. And I kind of reached a stage where I thought, I need to share this, or I need to put it on paper so that it's there for anybody else that may find it of interest. The motivation wasn't to sell thousands of books. It was just to be able to, if you like, do a memory dump onto paper, so that everything that I'd learned was available for anybody else that may want to read at some point down the road. And shortly after we moved here, we had very little to do. I wouldn't say I was bored, but things were a little quiet. And it was a perfect time to do exactly that. I took out some of my favorites, quotations and explanations from friends in the spirit world, all the different healing aspects that I'd taught over the years, because in the early days of Banyan, I was teaching healing to different groups of people. We were approved by the British Alliance of Healing Associations, and I held regular healing courses throughout the whole 15, 16-year period, and still do to a certain extent today. I'm still asked to do healing presentations, and I still have a few students that didn't quite finish their healing courses back then that I'm helping through today. So it's still ongoing. I'm still very much involved. I'm still very keen on understanding more about healing, because you never know everything about healing. There's always more to learn, as there is with most aspects of life. But yeah, no, I managed to get everything I wanted to say on paper. And I'm very pleased that I was able to do that, and even more pleased when I'm able to share it with people.
Thank you so much for that. I know there's physical healing, there's absent prayer, there's all kinds of things within it. There's a lot of people, Nic, right now that are experiencing deep grief while they're with us today. Would you share any words of perhaps what we can do to lessen that pain, or whatever is in your heart? Because I do know that grief is a journey, and one we don't want to be on.
It is. It's a devastating journey. Excuse me. And I think for anybody that is grieving at the moment, the first thing you have to do is to take time to look after yourself. Because it's a time when we often neglect ourselves because we don't feel worthy of that thought and consideration. And it's a point in time when we're at our most vulnerable from just about every aspect of life. And it is very, very important that we take time to make sure that we're getting the right nourishment, to make sure that we're taking time out to relax. Meditation. If you're in a home circle or a meditation group, those are great things to calm your mind and to take you to a slightly different place than your day-to-day life, where you can begin to relax a little bit more. To me, those are the key things. If you don't, the third aspect is to find a way to release that emotion that's pent up inside you. Everybody has it. I don't care what they say. They may deny it. It's there. And you have to find a way to get it out. Because if you don't, it's an energy, and it's an energy that's a negative energy that's inside you. And if you don't find a way to get it out, it may manifest in a way that you don't want it to. So that's why I say taking care of yourself is of the utmost importance. You can release that energy, that tension within in many different ways. Some people like to go to the gym and just thump at I don't know, whatever you bash in the gym. I don't go to the gym that often, so I'm not familiar with that sort of stuff. Or you go to the countryside and you absorb the natural energy that's all around you. You go to places that have great meaning for you, where there's a peace and there's tranquility, and you allow your body to resonate with that. But most importantly, you must find a way to allow that energy that's built up within to come out. Doesn't matter if you cry your eyes out for days. It doesn't matter. You have to find a way to release whatever it is that's pent up inside, because if you don't, it may come and bite you in a way that you don't want. And there are many, many different ways that you can do that. But taking good care of yourself is the most important aspect. Good nourishment, good exercise, and a calm, positive environment. And everybody will have their own way of finding those things. I could give you a list of probably 100, but they're not for everybody. You have to find what's right for you. And if you sit in the stillness, you sit in the calm, you will know what's right for you. Just allow your mind to calm down for a little while, and allow yourself to absorb a positive energy from nature and from what's around you. And I hope you can find that helpful in some way.
Thank you for that. And speaking of Maurice Barbanell and Silver Birch, I know we all have our spirit team that are with us. And even if we have a notepad and pen and journal, and even if we don't believe it, act as if, and just get some of those thoughts out of your head. And you can even answer back as if you are that being with you. And, as witness to myself, in the beginning, I thought, oh, this is all me. But in time, there were words coming in that I don't normally use. So I think we can, either through the quietness of our mind or through writing, we can tap into our own soul and those that support us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they're always there to support us. I know we don't always feel them. We don't always sense them around us, but they are there, and they'll never let us down.
Thank you for that. With our few minutes left, I want to just bring up someone who's made a profound difference in the world, a great medium who's now in the spirit world, and that's Mavis Patilla. And I know there's a lot of people that have never heard her name. You've kept her alive through some of her teachings on the website, but I know that there's some lectures that people can find. Could you talk about those?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mavis is a bit of a legend. She was a legend in her own lifetime, really. Um, she was a student and a very good friend of Gordon Higginson. She was head tutor at the college for a number of years, and she has spent many, many years in the sanctuary at the Arthur Findlay College giving lectures. Um, in more recent times, she's traveled all over the world, lecturing in many different parts of the world on every spiritual subject and mediumistic subject you can imagine. And her wife, Jean, recorded all of those lectures and is busy sifting through them and putting them together. And there's quite a collection now on the mavispatilla.com website that you can sign up to. You can sign up for different sections from a month, 6 months, 12 months, a year, whatever. And you have access to all of those amazing lectures. Mavis would give the same lectures in different places, and what she gave a lecture on prayer once at Banyan Retreat. Now, I've heard Mavis lecture on prayer many times, but there was something different about this occasion. It was special, and it's included in the recordings that are on Mavis's website. And Jean has gone through each of the recordings on the different subjects, and she's picked out the little gems that really get to the point and are presented in the most amazing way. So head over to mavispatilla.com and go to the online lectures and have a little look through what's available there. There are some real gems in there, and you'll become addicted to Mavis's lectures because they can be quite spellbinding at times. Truly, truly amazing. Lovely, lovely lady. I miss her so much. She was a big part of our lives for many, many years. And I know she's not that far away, keeping an eye on all of us. And I know she continues to teach from the other side today. So have a look at what she has to offer from the words when she was here.
Thank you. And for our listeners or viewers, I've got a link to that website in the description below. And Nic, just to acknowledge you for keeping great people and spirit people alive, because we human beings, we thirst for something, and we're not going to find it usually with the day-to-day thoughts that we have and working, and we all have that inner voice, that inner critic, that ego, and we're so busy doing, like the hamster on the wheel. We need to slow down, plug in, recharge, get connected to what's the big picture? Who am I? What is my life for? And so through the teachings of Mavis, of course, and then all these beautiful words by Silver Birch and Maurice and his wife as well, it's something we can each do. We may not be able to sit in a home circle. We may not have a group that we get together with. We may not have anybody in our life that we can talk about this too. It's very rare that we find people that we can talk about spirituality with and afterlife with. That's been my journey. So I'm thankful for you and Stephen and other friends. But what we can do is we can listen, we can learn, we can investigate. Keep listening to podcasts, reading books, and all those great things to keep connected, because someday we'll open our eyes, close them one last time here, open them, and our loved ones will be there, our pets, and we'll say, aha, it really was a bigger picture. Nic, any
Wonderful.
closing words? Any closing words before we say goodbye for today?
Wow. I think I probably said more than enough for today, but just thank you for inviting me and allowing me to share some of my knowledge, some of my experiences. And I hope that even if it's just one person finds something in there that's helpful, I will be truly grateful for the experience. And I hope Silver Birch brings words of comfort to many, many people continues to bring words of comfort for many, many years, as he has done for the best part of 80 odd years so far. So I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. But have a look at the app, have a listen, and judge for yourself.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being our guest today. And for our listener or our viewer, thank you for taking the time to be with us. I know your time is very precious, so I hope this made a difference for you. Just a reminder, you can find out more about Nic and his book, Science and Spirit, A Healing Journey, at banyanretreat.com. And you can discover the world of Silver Birch, Maurice Barbanell, the app, and so much more at our friends at spiritualtruthfoundation.org. And as a reminder, my home base is wedon'tdie.com. I do encourage you to get involved. It's free. Come to our free Sunday gathering. It's a beautiful, heartwarming, joyful experience. And there's a medium demonstration. And each one, there's always good things coming up on the calendar as well. wedon'tdie.com. So in closing, I'm Sandra Champlain. Thank you so much for listening to We Don't Die. It's my pleasure always to be your host, and I get just as much out of these episodes as you do. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm not. I do believe that life is an education for the soul and that your life here on earth is so important. It really is. Please remember that you're surrounded by love. You truly are, I'm sure, in this world, but also in the invisible world around you. I want to thank you for listening or for watching, and we'll see you soon.